Continuing on with the wedding, so we just finished the intro clip, and now the intro clip ends with this breaking of the glass. We'll just review it here. Alright, we faded out. At this point in the wedding, the next thing to take place is the groom comes in and puts a veil on the bride. At many weddings, this will actually be the first look. This also begins, so to speak, the main ceremony of the wedding. And let's jump into it. So we have our synced sequence. Sync sequence was done in pluralize. So this section over here is basically our dancing. This section over here is our main ceremony. I prefer to keep this synced sequence mostly untouched. It's a little bit easier to do all your edits in one sequence. So I'm gonna select the entire section containing the main ceremony, and I'm just gonna paste it in here. Okay. And while everything is still selected, we can organize a little bit. So we have to remember that our track A1 for music is going to be our silent track. Track 2 is going to be where we want our main music that we actually hear, and track 3 we've been using for other audio. The issue here is that there are two cameras throughout the main ceremony. We had the main camera, which is handheld, right? So there's a shot of the main camera, and if you turn that off, we have a stationary camera that was in the back, which gives us something to cut to. I don't like deleting soundtracks. You never know where I'm actually gonna need some of the sound. For example, I see right away over here that the audio of the rabbi during the main ceremony was not picked up on our audio recorder. That means that this mic that you see over here was not plugged into the band, but rather supplied by the venue and coming out of their main speakers. So I may not be able to hear the rabbi on the band recording, but I will be able to hear him on at least one of the cameras. So for right now, I'm gonna move one of these tracks. Let's take the one from the main camera. So this is our main camera right here. I'm gonna take the track from the main camera. Sorry, this one's our main camera. And without moving it over, because remember everything's lined up and synced right now, so without moving it over, I'm gonna move it down to there. And then we will, oh, I didn't get it all. This entire track right here, we're gonna move it down to there. We gotta make sure that it's not being moved over at all. And then we'll select all that and move this back up so that our music is on our active audio track. And just for right now, for a temporarily right now, unless I need it for something, I'm going to select that audio that's down there and disable it. So let's see what we have. Okay. Well, this is extra audio. This is extra on this end. And let's begin editing our main ceremony. So the main ceremony begins with the groom coming in and dancing the bride. Now over here, up till this point, we've done additive editing. We've gone through our original footage and selected what we wanted added into the timeline. Here's the opposite. We're starting with everything in our timeline, and we're going to subtract what we don't want. The reason for this is that right now everything is lined up, so we'll pick a random spot and pick a spot where we have something good, right? You have the groom and the bride looking at each other, and from the other angle you'll have that same event. As well as the music is perfectly lined up. We don't want to move anything around from where it is yet. We just want to remove what's not being used. Another important thing is that for the duration of the main ceremony, every single thing that takes place is significant. So we might shorten some things, but we're not going to skip anything. We want to show every single event in its entirety. If we decide to shorten things, it'll be done creatively in a way that we can't tell that anything was actually taken out. Let's begin, and I will do more as we go. So we're only going to be, this event was shot by one camera. The secondary camera that's here was really just a stationary camera that was sitting there the entire time. So for now, we're only going to worry about the main camera. And these are shots that just got synced that were really from earlier in the wedding. Okay. So we're going to start playing this. And we're looking for everything that's usable. From the point, the camera's going to roll continuously, and we're going to use whatever we can of this. I'm going to use the in and out points to mark where I want to make cuts, so the I and the O on the keyboard. Alright, this is, so right over here is the first thing I'm going to use. She's talking to someone, and then she looks and she sees the groom coming. Alright, and we don't want any of that excessive camera shake. So we're going to cut it. That whole beginning was not necessary. Alright, I want that look. Now we're going to skip out the camera shake. Okay, again, we're just looking for, let's scrub through this, and we just went up until that point where the camera begins to move. Right, now again, and you could play it live, you can scrub through it manually. So we want this. Now even though it's a little bit shaky, I'm probably gonna keep this here. Actually I won't, because I know that I have something else to cut to. So we'll cut this over here, and we'll go to this point here. It might be a little shaky, it's handheld. We're gonna do the best we can. I don't want anything excessively shaky. I want to make sure that you can clearly see what's happening, but I don't want to skip anything. So again, remember, we're looking for anything that's usable. So, alright, so that's a little bit too shaky. So let's... We're going to cut that right there. And start it again over there. So he's going to cover her face with a veil now. And we don't want any of that camera shaking. This is all handheld, and I'm sort of moving around to get different angles. Okay, the dad is giving a blessing, so we're gonna right over there. Now, even though it shook, I'm going to keep that clip because it's emotional and it's important, so I've made the decision to keep that in there. We're going to try to stabilize it with Adobe's Warp Stabilizer, But even if it doesn't work, that would be an exception to the rule where a clip may need to stay, even if it's not good. And here's some excessive camera shake that we don't need. Okay, grandfather giving her a blessing, so I want the clip to start, even if it's a little bit shaky, I want the clip to start right where his hands come in and cover her head. Okay, and again, I want, this is the other grandfather, and I want the shot of him coming in and approaching her, and then I want to cut it before we move to a different angle. So, wrong thing there. Let's cut that, and cut there. Now let's wait till we get to a point, and we'll go back in right there. Now, one thing I did notice here was that there was a bit of this that was shaky, but then it steadied out, and there's still a nice amount of it afterwards, so we could just use the more steady part. Go back to where we're up to. Here is the groom standing by and waiting, and that makes a very nice B-roll shot, usually, so we're going to leave that in there. Here's the bride after this event is over. Well, one of the rabbis is going in, giving her a blessing. And we have the shot of the groom dancing out. Alright, he's gonna go begin getting ready for the main portion of the ceremony. This is a nice shot of the mom holding hands. It's technically B-roll. We'll see what we're gonna do with it. Let's see what we can get here. Okay, and I just want that nice closing shot of this segment. The bride sitting there. Let's see what else we got. Okay, B-roll of the band is very useful. You can actually see our recorder over there that was recording them. The reason it's not plugged into a line in is because they actually weren't using a mixer over here. Alright, and these will be some very useful shots. I don't know if I'll actually use that here, but we have a shot of the band's signage. Okay, so now, if we want, so this can be cut short here, the music can go to here, and again we can cut this second shot here, nothing else happens after that. So now we have, this is, in Hebrew this is called the Badeken. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to jump back and forth between Badeken, first look, the veil ceremony. Get used to the word Badeken because that's what it's going to be referred to at almost every Jewish wedding. If we wanted, we could simply leave this as is. This is a very linear edit. It jumps back and forth between the main and the stationary camera. This is perfectly acceptable. In a traditional style edit, we would be done right here. For a Creative 1080 edit, my question is always, can we take it a step further? And, you know, keeping an edit just like this is kind of, I hate to say it because many studios do this, but you're dating your video because, you know, if we were editing on film reels or, you know, in an old-fashioned linear editor, this would be exactly what we would have to do. We would have two cameras and we'd just jump back and forth between them. And we have the luxury now of a non-linear editor, which literally means we don't have to do things in order. So let's be storytellers and let's take the elements that we have and put them in a way that works better. And you saw me do this extensively during this intro segment. It's important to note that the main ceremony does have a certain order and things have to be replayed in that order, but there are going to be things that can help us enhance the story. A simple example is going to be some of these band shots may work well in the beginning, and we also don't have to simply cut back and forth. So, for example, she looks up. You don't have to have this spot over here where you don't really see anything happening. That could be the very next shot. So, alright, you can see him, and then you can go, let's just move these over to here. Now you have to remember when you're moving things over that the other camera is now not lined up. This clip here is still lined up. Alright. And again, just because this right here is what happens immediately after this clip, you know, let's sort of move it over. Watch what we're going to do here. We're going to use the Y clip, and let's use part of the shot where you see the groom a little bit clearer, where you actually see his face. Alright, followed by this. Or even, let's have it better. Let's just let this go until he actually bends over. Right? And then that's the logical next clip. So the way it was originally, we're gonna step back. This was the original, and this just happens to be what the second camera was playing at the time. And you don't really see the groom's face, you know. Great, that doesn't... Let's go back forward, and now you actually see him approach, you see him bend over, so yes, he goes out of the frame for a bit, but he's doing something and you could tell what he's doing. He bends over, and then we cut to this. We don't need that entire clip to be something where you can't see him. So, just to look what we have now, she looks up, sees him, we then see him coming. Alright, we see her reaction, we see him approaching, happens to be from the second camera. I don't like using the second camera as, what I'm trying to get at is that I don't want the second camera to be a crutch that just, whenever we have an empty space, we cut to it. Let's use the second camera as a storytelling element. Yes, there will be times where we just need something to cut to. There will be times in the main ceremony where the main camera moves and someone is speaking, and you'll just have to use the secondary camera to fill in blank space. Yes, that's going to happen. But there are times that we're not going to have to do that. So, okay, they were talking for a long time. I don't need it to go that long, but I kind of like this part where they lean into each other. So let's kind of decide what's going to happen next. Alright, so I want this section here where he sort of leans into her and tells her something privately. That's kind of nice. This whole section here is alright, but I could do away without it. And just for the sake of keeping the second camera lined up, we are going to instead of shifting this over to here, I'm gonna cut this in. This is all music here, and as long as we're not hearing what's coming out of the camera, we can move all these over. We just have to remember now that if we were to turn on any of the camera sound, it's not going to be playing the same thing as what the music is playing here. So he bends over. We see him talking to her. Right? They do this cute leaning in thing, and then you see him bending back out. So I'm not a fan. The second camera must have been knocked by one of the guests, and it didn't really get what I needed it to get. So we're going to use it very sparingly. We have this great B-roll of the band, so that's going to make better filler, things. And let's see how it looks. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. I got a call. Where were we here? So let's just review. Right, he comes up. Right. At this point already, I could put the band clip. So we're gonna trim this one. I want to make sure to keep that part where they lean into each other. Right. So they're gonna lean into each other, and then we'll now he's gonna put the veil on her, which is integral to this entire thing. Okay, so you see him beginning to put the veil on, and we're gonna do some nice editing here. So I'm gonna go to the point where his hands are midway down, and you can see he actually went back and ended up adjusting the veil, or putting on a second layer. So we could go to that point right here, and it should look pretty continuous. We're going to add a little bit more. So let's try there. We need it to look natural. Oh, maybe we need it less. We'll get it right. That looks right. Maybe we need a little bit more here. Okay, that works. So just going a little bit more over there, and then we see him finish it up. We're just trying to tell a story. Again, nothing has to be linear. We can make things up. So now we see the dad. We see the dad approach. Alright, now he stops to take off his glasses, but if we cut the clip right there, the very next shot will actually make sense. So let's see if that works. That works. And I just want to see what we have over here. Okay, so you see someone ended up adjusting the secondary camera. So after that point, it's actually going to give us more of what we need. So I definitely want this entire thing. It's emotional. And we're going to skip out the panning part and go to where it's actually has the right framing. you know what, we're going to do it differently. We're not going to use the secondary camera at all because this is two different frames. It's a type, it's a wide and a tight of similar events. And again, this clip is really a little bit too shaky, but the clip is too important to skip. So it's just gotta go as is. So over here, you see the father step away, and you see the grandfather walk up. So we're gonna keep that in there. Over there is a place where using the second camera actually adds to the story and helps us tell the story. And that may happen here too. We're gonna see him step away, and he's gonna help the other grandfather up, which again is, we could cut that a drop shorter, so he steps away, and you see him helping the other grandfather up. That's very important. And then you see him lean in. What's here? Okay, so we don't need this entire thing, so. Right, so we're gonna cut that there, and we're gonna go to, I like this kind of moving shot. So again, let's, and we could cut that there because you don't really see any faces. No one's gonna want to watch this exact thing for too long. But I do want to make sure that I get that kiss. So. I could even go even shorter. Okay, I don't need the shot of the grandfather walking away anymore. We see the groom. Right, we see the bride and her mother. That was a beautiful shot. Oh, so this is the rabbi blessing her, so that's kind of important. We actually couldn't see that on the main camera. And we have the shot of the groom walking away. And we don't need the shot of the rabbi blessing her for so long. You can see the groom dancing away. And then we can go back to the closing shots of her. And okay, those are similar shots. So, we'll put another band shot. That's just a great B-roll. Okay, and I'd like to end with this shot of the bride. So we're going to cut out everything else, and this shot of the band, this sort of panning, moving out shot, should make a great way to start this off. And let's see how that works. Well, we don't want to actually hear them. Let's see what we have here. If we just put this band shot right up against our first shot that we actually want to use. That works perfectly. We're going to cut a little shorter because I saw the camera shake a little bit. And now we're going to see if we can stabilize some of this. So, effects, warp stabilizer. We're actually going to save our work, and I'm not 100% sure if this band shot will work. but if it does, whoops, that was the wrong thing. Warp stabilizer. And we're going to kind of see what it does. Let's let it finish analyzing. Seconds left. It's almost done. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. So let's kind of see what it does. And that's beautiful. Look how smooth that shot is. And again here, this looks like something that could be stabilized. This looks like something that could be stabilized. And this. And we're gonna give it a second just to check our work. I kind of want to show you a spot where the warp stabilizer does not work. And well, then we have to make some decisions. Alright, so that's stabilized. Okay, so here's a shot where it doesn't work. You see how it becomes all warped and almost looks like it's underwater? So we don't want to use the warp stabilizer then. So we get rid of the effect, and we just have to make a decision. How important is the shot to this video? If it's something that's important, it stays in despite the shake. If it's something that we could do without, then we get rid of it. I actually want to put it back for a second, because there is one way that you can sometimes fix a faulty warp stabilizer, and that is by cropping in. In this case, it's not going to fix it, but sometimes the warped look is only there on the edges of the clip. So we're just going to put everything back and keep it the way it was. Alright, this shot became extremely smooth, except for that very end. And to get rid of that, we are just going to cut this a little shorter. This clip also, the warp stabilizer didn't do it, so here we go. Alright, and that's pretty much it. I'm not going to do the rest on video here. I just want to show you how I'm going to connect it to this. So I like the look of one thing fading out and the next thing fading in. So the only thing that we're going to have to do is here, I do want the audio tracks to sort of fade. Let's see what we can do here. So we're going to make the audio tracks fade a little smoother into each other. So one will slowly fade out, the other will slowly fade in. And the level of this looks good. It's, you know, pretty much at that -12 that we're going for with the rest of the wedding. Again, they break the plate. Again, we're not looking yet for color correcting. We're just looking to tell a story at this point. Alright, next up we will do the main portion of the main ceremony. Save my work here, and see you in the next video.